The birthday celebration at Le Maison door buzzed with the typical Anderson family pretense. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light across the private dining room, where my mother sat at the head of the mahogany table in her new Chanel suit, playing queen bee to her social hive. My sister Emma preened in a red designer dress, while Dad adjusted his Rolex, both positioned perfectly to maximize their visibility to the restaurant's other patrons through the glass walls. I arrived exactly on time, dressed in a simple black blazer and slacks. High-end but intentionally understated. Mother's lips tightened as I sat down, her eyes scrutinizing my appearance as she always did. "Darling, you finally made it," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "We were worried you might be delayed. The bus schedules can be so unreliable." "The transportation I choose works perfectly fine for me," I replied calmly, settling into my seat as the waiter poured water into my glass. My phone buzzed silently in my pocket. Another update from my executive team about tomorrow's acquisition. Emma couldn't resist jumping in. "Still taking public transport? I thought by 30 you'd at least have managed to buy a car." She adjusted her diamond bracelet, making sure it caught the light. "Though I suppose on your salary, that might be difficult." Dad lowered his Wall Street Journal, fixing me with that familiar disappointed stare. "Your sister's right, Alexandra. At some point you need to show some ambition. Emma's husband just made junior partner, while you're still playing with your little tech startup." I took a slow sip of water, letting their words wash over me. My phone buzzed again. The contracts were ready for final signature. In less than 12 hours, everything would change. "How is that going, by the way?" Mother asked, not bothering to hide her dismissiveness. "Your little computer project? I do hope you're at least making enough to afford rent in that tiny apartment." "It's proceeding exactly as planned," I replied, checking my watch. A subtle Patek Philippe that cost more than Emma's car, though none of them knew enough about timepieces to recognize it. "Oh honey," Emma laughed, sharing a knowing look with our parents. "You really should let Dad help you find a real job. His firm is always looking for administrative assistants." The waiter arrived with Mother's favorite champagne. As they all raised their glasses to toast another year of her perfectly curated life, my phone lit up with an urgent message. "Breaking news: embargo lifts at 9 a.m. tomorrow. All systems go for announcement." I smiled, taking a small sip of champagne. In exactly 14 hours, this very building would belong to my company, along with the entire tech corridor that housed Dad's law firm. The acquisition had been months in the making, the largest real estate deal in the city's history. "Alexandra, are you even listening?" Mother's sharp tone cut through my thoughts. "We're discussing your future. Don't you think it's time to give up this entrepreneurship fantasy?" "Actually," I said, rising from my seat as another message lit up my phone. "I need to take this call. Business matter." "Of course," Emma snickered. "Very important business, I'm sure. Probably another freelance coding job." I stepped away from the table, catching the gleam of my watch under the chandelier light. Tomorrow they'd learn exactly what kind of business I conducted. The Wall Street Journal headline was already written, and their perfect world was about to shatter like fine crystal on marble floors. "Don't be long, dear," Mother called after me. "We haven't even cut my cake yet." "Don't worry," I said, looking back at them one last time. "Tomorrow's news will be quite celebratory." Walking toward the restaurant's luxurious lobby, I found a quiet corner near a marble pillar. My CFO's voice came through clearly. "Everything's set, Ms. Anderson. The papers are signed. At 9 a.m. tomorrow, Quantum Technologies officially owns the entire downtown tech corridor. Shall we proceed with the press embargo lift as planned?" "Proceed exactly as scheduled," I replied, my voice low but firm. Through the glass walls I could see my family already moving on without me, Mother laughing at something Emma had said. "And Sarah? Make sure the building management transition happens immediately after the announcement." Returning to the table, I found them deep in discussion about Emma's husband's latest achievement, making partner at Dad's firm, a position handed to him as easily as their platinum credit cards. "There she is," Mother said with exaggerated patience. "Done with your very important business call?" The waiter was serving their main courses. Mother's overpriced Dover sole, Dad's aged Wagyu steak, Emma's lobster thermidor. I took my seat as my own plate arrived. "You ordered the chicken?" Emma's perfectly plucked eyebrows rose. Let me guess. Budgeting carefully this month? The chicken here is excellent, I replied, cutting into the perfectly cooked breast. Not everything needs to be about showing off, Emma. Dad lowered his fork, fixing me with that stern look I'd grown up with. Now listen here, Alexandra. Your attitude about success is precisely why you're struggling. Look at your sister. Married to a partner, driving a Mercedes, living in the right neighborhood. What do you have to show for yourself? I checked my phone again. Another message from my executive team about tomorrow's board meeting. The first one after the acquisition would be interesting. I have exactly what I've worked for, I said quietly. Mother dabbed her lips with her napkin, pearl bracelet catching the light. Darling, we're only concerned. A woman your age should be established. Instead, you're taking buses, living in that tiny apartment, working on some mysterious computer business. She shook her head. It's not too late to take a proper position at your father's firm. That's right, Emma chimed in, gesturing with her wine glass. Even a receptionist position would be better than whatever it is you're doing now. At least you'd be in the right circles. My phone buzzed again. The final preparations for tomorrow's announcement were complete. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. Speaking of Dad's firm, I said, taking another bite of chicken, how's the lease negotiation going? I heard the building's ownership was changing hands. Dad's fork paused halfway to his mouth. How did you never mind. Yes, some major tech company is buying the whole corridor. Probably going to raise our rent significantly. He scowled. Bunch of young tech billionaires thinking they can control everything. Sounds challenging, I murmured, checking my watch again. 15 hours until the announcement. Well, not all of us have to worry about real estate prices, Emma smirked. Some of us actually own our offices instead of working from coffee shops. Mother signaled for the waiter to bring her birthday cake. Alexandra dear, promise me you'll at least think about what we've said. You can't keep living like a college student forever. The cake arrived, an elaborate 3-tiered creation topped with gold leaf. As they sang happy birthday, my phone lit up one final time. Press release scheduled. All major networks will carry the story. Make a wish, Mother, I said, watching her lean toward the candles. I wish, she said with pointed emphasis, for all my children to find success. Emma snickered behind her hand. Some of us already have. I stood up, gathering my things. I should go. Big day tomorrow. Oh. Dad looked up from his cake. Another freelance project? Something like that, I smiled, shouldering my bag. You'll want to watch the morning news. Especially the business section. The business section? Emma laughed. Why would your little computer work make the news? I paused at the table's edge, looking at each of them one last time. Mother in her Chanel, Dad with his Rolex, Emma dripping in diamonds she hadn't earned. Trust me, I said softly. Tomorrow's headline will be unforgettable. Happy birthday, Mother. As I walked away, I heard Emma's stage whisper. At least she could afford a decent birthday gift this year. If they only knew that in 15 hours I would own not just this restaurant, but every building in the tech corridor, including Dad's precious law firm office. Sometimes the best gift is the shock of reality. My driver was waiting outside with the Tesla, hidden just around the corner where they couldn't see. Tomorrow they'd learn exactly what kind of success I'd achieved. And I wouldn't miss their reactions for anything in the world. The next morning I sat in my penthouse office on the 50th floor of Quantum Tower, watching the sun rise over the city. The wall of windows offered a perfect view of my family's favorite breakfast spot, Le Petit Matin, where they gathered every Tuesday morning to discuss their empire. My executive assistant, Jessica, entered precisely at 8:45 a.m. Everything's ready, Ms. Anderson. The press release goes live in 15 minutes. All major networks are standing by. I adjusted my Armani suit and checked my reflection in the window. Is the live feed from Le Petit Matin working? Yes, ma'am. We have a clear view of their usual table through the security cameras we just installed. Right on schedule, I watched my family settle into their regular breakfast routine. Mother ordering her usual overpriced avocado toast, Emma showcasing her latest designer handbag, Dad spreading out his morning papers. They had no idea their comfortable world was about to implode. At exactly 9 a.m., the headlines broke across every screen in the city. Breaking news. Quantum Technologies acquires entire downtown tech corridor in $4.2 billion deal. Alexandra Anderson, 30, becomes youngest female CEO to complete billion-dollar acquisition. Tech prodigy reveals secret empire. Quantum Technologies now city's largest property owner. Through the security feed, I watched Dad's coffee cup slip from his hand, dark liquid spreading across his pristine white tablecloth. Emma's phone clattered to the floor as the notifications flooded in. Mother's perfectly composed face turned ashen. Send in the management transition team, I instructed Jessica. Start with Anderson and Partners Law Offices. Within minutes, my phone erupted with calls and messages. Dad, Alexandra, what is the meaning of this? Emma, this has to be a mistake. Mother, call us immediately. I watched through the cameras as Dad frantically dialed his office. By now, his senior partners would be receiving notice of the immediate rent increase, triple their current rate, effective immediately. Ms. Anderson, my CFO entered with a tablet. The press is requesting statements. Also, your father's firm just received the new lease terms. Good. Have security ready. I expect they'll be arriving soon. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, my family burst out of the elevator into my executive suite. They froze at the sight of the massive office, all chrome and glass, with views commanding the entire city. Alexandra. Mother's voice trembled, taking in my tailored suit and the massive Quantum Technologies logo behind my desk. Welcome to my little computer project, I said, not bothering to stand. I believe this is your first time visiting my tiny apartment. Emma stepped forward, her designer heels sinking into the plush carpet. This is impossible. You were broke. Taking the bus, living in that small place. That small place was the guest house of my estate, I replied calmly. As for the bus, I believe in sustainable transportation. My company developed the city's entire electric transit system. Dad's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. The lease terms, you can't do this. Actually, I can. Market rates, Dad. Isn't that what you always taught me about business? I smiled, remembering all his lectures about real-world economics. But yesterday at my birthday, Mother sank into one of the visitor chairs, her legs seemingly unable to hold her. Yes, about that. I pressed a button on my desk and the wall of screens behind me lit up with security footage from the restaurant. Let's review some highlights from last night, shall we? Their faces drained of color as their own words played back. Still taking public transport? Playing with your little tech startup. Even a receptionist position would be better. I let the footage run for a moment before turning it off. Fascinating how quickly perceptions can change, isn't it? You planned this, Emma whispered. You let us believe. I let you show who you really are, I corrected her. Every mocking comment, every dismissive gesture. I wanted to see if any of you would bother to actually ask about my work, show genuine interest. But no, you were too busy counting your borrowed status symbols. Now see here, Dad started, attempting to regain his authoritative tone. As your father. As my tenant, I interrupted, you should know your new lease terms are non-negotiable. However, I paused, opening a folder on my desk. I am willing to discuss a more favorable rate, if you're interested in hearing my terms. The silence in the room was deafening. Through the windows behind them, I could see my company's name being installed on buildings across the skyline. The city's landscape was literally changing before their eyes. What terms? Mother finally managed to ask. I leaned back in my chair, savoring the moment. Well, for starters, let's discuss how we're going to restructure the family's approach to success. 6 months after the takeover, I stood at the podium of Quantum Technologies charity gala. The ballroom glittered with the city's elite, but my eyes were on one table, my family's. Dad now worked on my ethics board, no longer a powerful partner. Mother ran our education foundation, finding real purpose. Emma had changed most of all. Before I announced donations, I said, I want to share a story about success. The crowd went quiet. Emma smiled at me, not her old smirk but real. 6 months ago I was known only as the silent buyer of half the city. But my journey started small. I lived simply, rode buses, worked from a tiny apartment. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to understand the lives of others. Mother wiped her eyes, this time with real emotion. Today Quantum launches the largest urban mobility plan ever. Free transport for all students and seniors. Applause filled the room. Dad finally understood why I had once taken those bus rides. And we're also opening tech centers in every poor neighborhood. Emma stood, honored for her work in our community programs. She had started from the bottom, no privileges, and earned her place. True success isn't about cars or clothes, I said, locking eyes with Mother. It's about impact. After the speeches, my family gathered around. The distance between us had softened. The education numbers are double our goal, Emma said, tablet in hand. Your sister has real talent, Mother admitted with pride. I knew, I replied. Dad cleared his throat. Your corporate guidelines are impressive. I'm learning every day. That was the point, I smiled. Later, Mother touched my arm. Dinner on Sunday? Just family. I'll cook. I'll take the bus, I said. Emma laughed. I'll test our new route app. Dad even added, the company car can wait. We stood there planning a simple dinner, not as rivals but as family. My phone buzzed. Another Fortune 500 request. But I ignored it. Some wins aren't about money. They're about hearts changing. Sunday dinner sounds perfect, I said. As we walked through the gala, Mother whispered, tell me more. This time I'm really listening. I smiled. Revenge wasn't the point anymore. Real success was change, connection, and family, finally truly family.